Day 864 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzie here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on a bit of a milestone at 550,000 military personnel losses, representing an additional 1,150 in the past day. Then as for hardware losses, 16 APVs, 40 artillery, and a paltry 2 tanks. Then to the map, with a lot of activity happening within Russia over the weekend. Take for instance, just a couple of hours ago, Russian Telegram channels reported that a large ammunition warehouse in Voronezh was attacked by drones last night, and that the large cache stored surface-to-surface missiles, surface-to-air missiles, shells for tanks and artillery, boxes of ammunition for firearms, and a great deal more. And then from there, they were to be supplied to the Russian military on the front lines. And just look at it, feels like a multifaceted mushroom cloud. And take a look at all that thick smoke from the successive blasts from all of those ammunition types. Golly. Then, over the weekend, as another example, we saw that Ukrainian drones targeted 2 Russian oil depots in the Krasnodar region, with each located about 240 kilometers or about 150 miles from the front lines, with the events occurring in Leningradskaya and Pavlovskaya. The attacks caused fires at both facilities, with satellite imagery confirming damage to at least 3 oil tanks at the Rosneft depot in Leningradskaya. A Russian military blogger, Romanov, captured video footage of one such attack, showing an explosion and subsequent fire. So multiple drone strikes were reported throughout the night in these locations, with also a communications tower in Yesk reportedly damaged as well. Yeah, I'd say that looks pretty damaged. Interestingly, Russia's defense ministry claimed to have downed 8 drones over the Kursk and Belgorod oblasts, but did not mention Krasnodar Krai. Also, we saw that NASA's FIRMS data corroborates the extent of the fire in Leningradskaya, with locals reporting ongoing burning and smoke resulting from the attack. Then also within Russia, it was reported that a boiler house has exploded in Volgograd. These sites are used for heating and various industrial processes, and even for producing electricity by driving turbines. Although no word from either side on the cause of that event. Then down to Dagestan, Russia's Republic of, as another big bavovna at a power station occurred. Now it's unknown as to why, but surely all of this cannot be as simple as a mere coincidence. But it didn't stop there, because the Ukrainian partisan group Atesh claimed that a couple of days ago, they sabotaged a railway line near to Yekaterinburg, which is halfway to Siberia, and thus stating that they were disrupting the transport of North Korean ammunition. The operation allegedly targeted the Trans-Siberian Railway east of the Ural Mountains, and Atesh posted a video showing an explosion at the scene and stated that Russian journalists were barred from accessing the site until the Federal Security Service, or the FSB, had visited. And this incident naturally follows reports of North Korea supplying Russia with significant amounts of artillery shells, potentially up to 4.8 million, as Russia's military stocks deplete due to the war in Ukraine. But it's not all sunny skies ahead for Russian ammunition supplies, with more and more photos always coming out, like with this Russian D-30 howitzer, destroyed from the inside out, with defunct North Korean shells as being cited as the reason for this such mess. So when is helping not helping? Well, that's a question that the Russian military will have to ask and answer themselves. Then finally making it into Ukraine, as incoming reports showed that Ukraine has liberated the northern part of Hiloboka, right on the northern incursion front right there, and I'll show you the previous day's gains and losses. So this was yesterday, moving across today. And though we are waiting for confirmation of liberation, the map has been upgraded to show in the least an extension of the grey zone in the Russian direction. And all of this is quite problematic for the Russian army stationed here, as it disrupts the one road that Russia has when coming from the west. Literally, just the one actual road, forcing them to go off the beaten path to support Hliboka. And for a magnificent multitude of reasons, the Russian army does not like doing that. Then, as for a reverse outcome on the map today, Russian forces took up positions in Pishain, which is roughly 5 miles or about 8 kilometers from the Oskil River. Now, it remains to be seen what comes of this, but it is all very reminiscent of the Terny front leading up to the Zerabets River, where you might remember, where Russian positions were less than a mere 2 kilometers from the target location to the river there. But after many months of Russian failed attempts and hardware and personnel losses, it somewhat unexpectedly took a swing in the favor of the Ukrainians. Although no doubt at least in part due to an influx of artillery shells for the AFU. But moving back up, because as for Pishain, Russian attritional waves saw an opening and took everything they could, slightly past a small river crossing there. But we'll certainly see how that salient point plays out over the next few days. Then headed to the Chasiv Yar front within Donetsk, where Russia's overtaking of the micro-district to the east of the canal and the city has eventuated, with Russia looking to consolidate final gains all the way up to the canal. It was a long fought 6 months and 5 kilometers of land captures for Russia. Although, in fact, let's put that to the test, because it was about 12 months ago when Russian forces were at or reaching Crimea. So, pulling out the date map, going way back in time, almost exactly a year, and let's see. Yep, exactly. So, right at the Crimea point. So, allow me to restate that. It was a long fought 12 months and 5 kilometers of land captures for Russia. My goodness. All for Russia getting so heavily attrited in this area with so many hardware losses. And if we go back to where it is now, given that this location almost represents a perfect square, that means that pulling out the ruler, going to the front, yeah, Russia gained about 25 square kilometers, which is about 10 square miles over that 12-month period. And bearing in mind, for a little bit of further context, Ukraine is in all 233,000 square miles, or about 603,000 square kilometers. And so, as for the map positions, the AFU has arguably fallen back to a far more defensible position, limiting the unnecessary loss of life in the process. And so, this event was probably always going to happen, taking the micro-district, with concerns about it happening from as early as March or April. But the AFU held on for quite some time. Then headed all the way across to the southwest today, as in follow-up to the recent forest fires on the south bank of the Dnipro River, near to, or in fact at, Russian positions, reports have detailed that there's been a lot of destruction of antennas, bunkers, and other positions, resulting in significant losses. As we can see here with some of the photos, all of which has no doubt given the northern bank a bit of a reprieve from all of the hostilities being directed at it from the Russian south. Then for this map, headed south as a powerful explosion occurred at a gas distribution station in the Alushta district of Russian-occupied Crimea. The blast was followed by a significant fire visible from a considerable distance. Eyewitness accounts and social media posts describe the fire as intense, with some indicating that nearby forested areas might also have caught fire. The explosion and subsequent blaze created a stark contrast against the evening skyline of Alushta, a resort town on Crimea's southern coast. And while the cause of the explosion has not been officially confirmed, it occurs amid the ongoing tensions in the region and follows a pattern of incidents targeting infrastructure that the Russian military is reliant upon in the occupied territories. Then looking around the map, because somewhere in the east, Russian soldiers were seen running away, or should I say scooting away, from heavy engagements on the front lines after a Ukrainian attack. Russia's commitment to green energy is inspiring. Then also in the east, we see how Ukrainians are increasingly using FPV drones, specifically quadcopters, to take out Russian fixed-wing aerial vehicles. In this instance, a Russian Zala recon drone was taken out. Then also in the east, we saw an early 1970s Russia Vozdika, the 122mm SPG destroyed by the 109th Territorial Defense Brigade. Then headed across to some news for today. So, Estonia's Ministry of Defense confirms the delivery of Mistral short-range air defense systems and missiles for Ukraine. The Mistral is a versatile SHORAD, or a short-range air defense system, that can be deployed from various platforms including vehicles, ships, helicopters, and in portable configurations. This transfer marks another step in Estonia's ongoing support for Ukraine's defense efforts against Russian aggression. Then in some more news, Armenia announced that it will host joint military exercises with the United States from July 15 to 25. The drills mark a significant development in Armenia's military cooperation with the US, and this announcement comes amid deteriorating relations between Armenia and Russia, its traditional ally. Basically, tensions have risen due to Russia's inaction during conflicts between Armenia and Azerbaijani territory in the past few years. And yet, Russia's watered-down version of NATO, called the Collective Security Treaty Organization, or CSTO, has failed, along with its Russian peacekeeper efforts to resolve these conflicts. Now, if Putin didn't put all of these eggs in the Ukrainian basket, then maybe Armenia could have received some of that mandated Russian support. Another geopolitical win for Putin. Note the sarcasm. Then headed across to another Russian military mobilization blunder segment. So, a Russian unit received some body armor, although curious as to why it was so light and blocky, they opened it up only to find that it was light and blocky, full of pieces of wood. One of the Russian soldiers commented that it was firewood, and he saw no issues with this protecting from wooden bullets shot from a slingshot. Oh my, that is not good. That is not good at all. And far from an isolated incident, as it reminds me of that time that a Russian conscript realized he and others were equipped with some sort of airsoft vests, which protects from airsoft guns. Gee, which type of armor would you prefer? Then headed off to a quick funny to round it all off today, guys. So behold, Russia's latest Chinese golf buggy, designed for those front lines. Russia is going from the fairly useless to just the completely impractical. Can you imagine the handling on this monstrosity? And its dimensions are now bigger than that of a tank or an armored personnel carrier. Plus, imagine trying to escape out of here in the heat of the moment. But worry not, Russia are not lacking armored vehicles. This is clearly superior to Western vehicles. That is our Russia. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Please continue to like and comment. Thanks for all of the support. Can't thank you enough. And yeah, I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.